(2023) Mother Gaia, third dimensional planet, ascending into fourth dimensional collective consciousness. Azure,
Grand Rising Captain.
can you give me the update on third dimensional planet Gaia?
Yes, Christo, with pleasure. Gaia 3D currently is under critical condition. It seems there is a large amount of humans that have forgotten who they are, causing confusion, division and war driven by fear.
Thank you, Azure. Before we head down to Gaia, can you give me any information about the 3D world, as it's been a while since I've been there?
Sure, the 3D Gaia. We will face much resistance from negative polarity beings as a dual plane. Karma and Dharma are in effect. There is free will. It will be wise to protect our energy and hold love.
Alright, thank you, Azure. Sounds like we have quite the task at our hands. But that's why we're here, and that's why we've been called upon in the Galactic Federation to go down to planet Gaia, the 3D realm. Alright, Azure, let's get ourselves ready to go. Let's hit the time portal and make sure we land in the present day, Mother Gaia, third dimension. Whoa, oopsies. Yeah, not that one. Okay, let's try this one. Maybe this is the portal. Oh yeah, Azure, this is a little too far in the future. I think we need to kind of go back a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Modern day Earth.
Captain Christo, as we approach, I will prepare our guest suite on the mothership for the souls we hold space for. Oh, and Captain, I will be sure to leave plenty of storage for earthly food delights to take for our travels.
Oh my gosh, Azure, you never fail to make me laugh. You know those earthly delights? That good old food of earth. Absolutely gotta have that food of earth. Thank you, Azure. Alright. It is time. It's time to make our way down to 3D Gaia. To hold space, show love, compassion, bridge the conscious collective, and help provide knowledge and wisdom and tools so fellow souls can remember who they are, live in a unified mind state with a harmonious being, with holistic, conscious practices and tools that they may access efficiently and quantumly.
Welcome aboard. I am Azure. Please get cozy. Grab a tea, snacks or crystals as we prepare for a sacred light conversation. The sacred holding space is down the hall to the left. Wholeness, balanced love.
Oh my god. Whoa, oh my god. Ah, man, I wish this could just not be as intense every time. Holy smokes. Ooh, wow. Holy smokes, are we almost there yet? Golly. Wow. How beautiful. I love the culture out here. You know, I've always wanted to come here. Azure. It never ceased to amaze me. It's a beautiful culture out here in Peru. Now that we've made it to Peru, Azure, can you lead us to who our next sacred guest is on the Sacred Light Conversations podcast?
Glad you are enjoying your Peru trip, Captain. Our sacred guest, Don Zane Curfman. He is a spirit medicine carrier of the traditional Peruvian ways for 22 plus years. He teaches and holds programs for attuning students to the medicine ways. Zane is based out of Athens, Ohio.
Nice, bright, sunny day, enjoy themselves. Almost everyone has found a beautiful glen or a beautiful area of nature and just felt the energy there. Because of this, we can all share an experience. Now, I can't always share an experience with someone if I'm talking about Allah or Buddha or Krishna or Christ, because we're talking about something that is touching the third level. And a lot of people who talk about these things are really superstitious about their own particular religion. But everyone has felt the energy of these four global objects.
Alrighty. Grand day, everybody. Wholeness and Balanced Love. Welcome to another Sacred Light Conversation podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Christolight of Sacred Light Healing Wellness. And today, I have the honor of being joined by our sacred guest. And our sacred guest on the podcast episode is, a very in tune spiritual teacher of many different traditional medicines, and one of those being the Peruvian spirit medicine pathway of 22 plus years now, along with also the Sansei Afro traditional culture as well of 12 years. Zane Curfman, Don Zane Curfman that is located out of Athens, Ohio. And he has some wonderful messages, wisdom, and medicine for us today. Welcome, and thank you for being here, Don Zane Curfman.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited. We talked earlier in the week, and we're just so in alignment with so many things, and it's just great to be on this show and to be able to share this with everyone. And in the tradition of the Pacocuna of Peru, which is Peruvian shamanism, we never really talk about anything without giving some love to the tradition itself, because we want the spirits of the tradition to be there with us. So I got my Misha here, which is my ceremonial bundle or altar. And I'm just going to ask everyone out there if they would just join me in a slight invocation of these spirits of nature. That's what we work with. And the easiest way to do that is just kind of rub your hands together for a second, getting them a little sensitized, and then place your dominant hand right on the center of your heart. And just feel the warmth of your hand on that heart center. And just breathing in now, slowing down our breath a little bit. Just slowing it down to about a count of 7. So breathing in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathing out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And just continuing to breathe at about that pace, about a 7 count in and a 7 count out, focusing on the warmth and the pressure of your hand on your heart. And just imagine that each breath is coming in through your heart and each exhale is going out of your heart, bringing all of your awareness, all of your consciousness, all of your thought down into your heart. And as you're doing that, you'll start to notice kind of an expanded state happening. An expanded state of consciousness. It's that simple to get into that state. Just breathing in for a count of 7, breathing out for a count of 7, noticing the warmth of your hand on your heart, and imagining you're breathing in and out of the actual heart. The energy's coming into the heart and going out of the heart. And if you start to feel expanded, just say yes to that expansion. And now I'm going to do a small little invocation in Runasimi, which is Quechua, just to acknowledge and honor the spirits of the tradition. So they're standing here with us as we speak of these things. Pachamama. Ampui, 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 Pachamama. Sumak Pachamama. Ampui, ampui. Pachamamita kuna. Ampui, 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 Pachamamita kuna. Mama Aipa. Ampui, 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 Mama Aipa. Ampui, ampui, ampui. Machakwaipa. Kuiku waiku. Chuchu saina kupak. Chucha. Mamita. Ampui, ampui, ampui. Yacharichi waiku. Periachi waiku. Ampui, ampui, ampui. Mama Uno, Mama Cocha, Mama Kia. Ampui, ampui, ampui. Ampui, 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 Hatan Chaiwa. Hatan Chaukan Chinchai. Hatan Antarongo. Ampui, ampui, ampui. Ampui, 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 Conti Suyo. Ampui, ampui, ampui. Hayaya, Conti Suyo. Hayaya, Mama Kia, Mama Uno. Tixi Lirpo, ampui, ampui, ampui. Yachay Nikita, Paruichi Waiku, ampui, ampui. Ampui, ampui, ampui. Wilka Waira Kuna, ampui, ampui, ampui. Siwarkinte, ampui, ampui, ampui. Mishkikita, Rixivichi Waiku, Tiakata. Songoi, Tiakara. Futui, 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 ampui, ampui. Inti taita, ampui, 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 inti. Ampui, 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 inti taita. Hatun kuntar, hatun onkas, ampui, ampui, ampui. Wilkanina, ampui, ampui, ampui. Kachainikiman, ampui, ampui. Hatun kuichi, ampui, ampui, ampui. Apu kuna, ampui, ampui. Apu nusta kuna, ampui, ampui. Pachamama nusta kuna, ampui, ampui. Nusta kuna, ampui, ampui. Paku kuna, ampui, ampui. Paku nusta kuna, ampui, ampui, ampui. Tikse muhu amaru, ampui, ampui, ampui. Tiki con viricocha, ampui, ampui, ampui. Viricocha. Hatun sonko. Viricocha. Tupakui, Kausaipi, Kaiwakpi, Masada, spirits of nature, spirits of the upper world. Let me meet you in my life. Let me know you in my ceremonies. Come. And just taking a really deep breath in, retaining and just imagining your entire self being filled with light, filled with love, and within that light and love, the information that you may receive tonight. Listen not with the ears of your mind, but with the ears of your heart. Oh.
Aho. Thank you so much for that honor.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. I've been doing this so long, and it's just changed my life so much, and I'm just so happy whenever I get a chance to share this medicine in any capacity with others.
Yes. I feel so blessed to hold this space tonight. So to break us open after that beautiful session, let's kind of trace back a little bit in your path. And what was your life like before coming into relation with these different spirit medicines, and what was it that drew you to being a part of the Peruvian traditional medicine?
Yeah. My life is very interesting in the fact that spirituality was always a very big part of it. My father was a Baptist missionary preacher, and my mother was a gifted psychic. Now, being a fundamentalist Christian at the same time, she kind of held her psychic powers and she kind of didn't trust it completely. She thought maybe there was something wrong about it. Toward the end of her life, though, she started to accept it more and more. But she never developed it to its fullest potential, which would have been something completely remarkable for her. But she did teach me to always pay attention to little messages I pick up from the world around me, and especially inside my own heart. And that if I always followed what my heart was saying, it wouldn't lead me wrong. So inside of that kind of fostering of this, my father being a Baptist missionary preacher, my mom teaching me to be open to things, and her mother would actually build altars in the woods when people were sick, and she would build a unique altar for the people, and she would pray in the woods for their healing and things like that. My father's mother was what you might call a Christian bruja, which is like a Christian witch kind of. What I mean by that is she read tarot cards, read your palms, stuff like that. And she would really just kind of, she kind of kept that under wraps, and she didn't want a lot of people to know about it, but it was always there. And then where I grew up was Appalachia. Was pretty much rural Appalachia. And in that area, things like water witching, at that time, that was the only way to find water on your land, was to have someone called a water witch come out with a Y-shaped stick and dowels for your well, where you needed to dig your well. And they had to be right, because, you can't afford to be just digging holes through your property everywhere. So, that kind of mystical life was surrounding me as I was growing up. But I always knew that I was a different type of priest than my father. I knew this from the beginning, and I think he did too, because he never, even though he was a preacher, he never forced that on me. He never made me go to church except for the days I wanted to. And he never preached to me. He would always ask, what did I think about things, And then he would never dissuade any of my thoughts on spirituality. He would just listen. And I think in some ways it was really refreshing for him. So I grew up with that kind of atmosphere, and I had all these experiences early on, including my mother's employer. I had like this moment with his house when I was like 8 years old. My dad took me there to return some dishes that he had sent some food home with my mom in. And while I was there, the house basically told me I was going to live there. It told me, it basically foreshadowed the death of my dad. And I didn't know what to make of this whole experience, but it wasn't all that abnormal. I had these experiences all the time. I talked to the land where I lived, my house. I knew my house like a person. I knew my grandma's house like a person, and the properties. And we had woods all around us. So I was always playing in the woods because it was a different time then. You know, you went out at 9 in the morning and played. And if there was no school, you didn't come back until sunset, you know, and you were just out running around. So that was really my life as a child. And as I grew, I just kept noticing that I felt called to the healing world, to spiritual healing. And, you know, and of course there is a version of that in charismatic Christianity and fundamentalist Christianity, faith healing and stuff like that. And I was always called more in that direction. And then I wasn't too old. Very early adulthood, a spirit of a rainbow serpent came to me. And it came in like a dreamlike state, but I was wide awake. But it came in this like dreamlike state, and it told me that it would teach me how to help make the earth green again. It told me it would show me how to perform psychic surgery. And it taught me other things. And it told me that the biggest thing it was going to do was prepare me for the next step in my spiritual path. So I received the information it was giving me, and it was great information. I even started teaching it. I started teaching it for free because that's kind of how the spirit taught me to be. It was teaching me for free, and it wanted me to share what it was teaching me with others. So I started teaching this for free. And then there just came a point where it had taught me this one way of working with energy, this way of splitting energy, taking energy directly into the physical body and splitting it within you. And I found this so amazing and so transformative in my own life. And I started wondering, well, what is all this? You know, because I was still young. And even though I had all these experiences, I always, the whole community just chalked it up to an overactive imagination. So I was just like, what is this? Where did I get all this information? Where did I get these things I'm teaching other people? And I started wanting to get some type of confirmation from the external world about it. So I started researching all over, trying to find out if this was done anywhere. And I found certain techniques like in Tibetan Reiki and in Tibet, there was these techniques called like the transformational breath. And that was kind of like this, but not really, because breath work had nothing to do with the process I was taught. So I kept researching, and then I found out about a group of Quechuan Indians, especially of one tradition of Peruvian shamanism that came from the area of Huasal, Peru, which is right near Cusco. And in that area, they call this the Huascar tradition. It's a royal lineage that was passed down through the descendants of the last Inca. And in it, they had pretty much this exact technique. I don't like to call them techniques. I like to call them toys or tools, you know, because they're a little different than a technique. A technique's like, you know, A followed by B followed by C. This was more free-flowing than that. So I was like, whoa, this is what I'm learning. And at that point, I realized this is what this spirit I called Tulsi was telling me. She was telling me, she was preparing me for the next step in my spiritual path. And that next step was Peruvian mysticism, Peruvian shamanism. So I quickly got connected, and I researched everyone to ad nauseum that taught it. And it wasn't a whole lot of people at that time. This was still early on. No one really knew about this tradition. And then I found my teacher, and I received my initiations. And, you know, it just absolutely changed my life. Before that point in my life, I was searching all over the place for spiritual wisdom. I was really thirsty for it. You know, I was thirsty for it, and I went down all the different avenues. The word shaman just kind of haunted me. And in my day and age, nobody knew what that was. I mean, that they were, you know, we're talking before the internet and things like that. Nobody knew what a shaman was. It wasn't a common word. So I didn't know why that particular word kept popping up in my consciousness and kept like leading me. And so by following that trail and that path, I explored my consciousness in all types of different ways, including with certain drugs, and alcohol was never really my thing, but I did do it a little bit. But I just followed all kinds of things. And there was an insecurity in me. And something changed once I received my initiations. Something in me completely changed, and I suddenly felt confident in a way that I don't know how to explain still to this day. But I used to be someone, even though I would counsel people and even do healings for people in my teenage years and stuff, you know, until I got to know someone, I was extremely shy, barely would talk with them, would just let whatever, you know. And all of a sudden, after these initiations, I start to come out of my shell. I start to share with people more and more than what I was doing when I was teaching what the Spirit taught me. You know, suddenly I felt confident, I felt assured, and things just started to line up for me. Opportunities to teach started to just pop up. And then after I was sanctioned to teach the tradition, which is its own process, but after I was given the okay to share the tradition with others, something unique happened, and that was I didn't get new people. What I got was people who had been in this for a while. And like I said, it wasn't well known, but I would get people from like the Foundation of Shamanic Studies. It's a different type of tradition, but they would come to me. People who had been training with them since the 80s. People who had been training with the Four Winds Society, they started to come to me. With the Pachacuti Mesa tradition, all these people started to come to me and started to want to learn what I had. And one of the things that I think that was all about was my relationship with it always was spiritual, as in there are spirits out there. Because all my life, things talked to me, I heard things, I saw things, and I had this kind of connection that there was more to life than just this. And so I think I really approached the whole tradition from that point of view, that perspective. It wasn't just like energy work or, you know, journey work or something like that. It was that there are true spirits out there, a lineage of spirits that hold these traditions sacred and help every person who comes upon them, helps them to grow and to develop what's unique in them. It's different for all of us. That's another thing I love about this tradition. It doesn't say the people I train don't become little miniature me's. They become themselves. It brings out something that's so beautiful in them, and then they get to shine that light into the world. And we say that in this tradition that everyone's a healer and everyone's a teacher. But that doesn't mean you're going to hang up a shingle or start doing healings for other people, because the healing comes through you discovering who you are. By you healing what's keeping you from moving forward in your own life, you change your resonance, and then that starts to heal the people around you. You don't even have to sit there and say, oh, now I'm going to do a healing on you. Just them sitting in your company, they start to dream better dreams. They start to say, hey, that guy went after his weird dream, I can go after mine. You know, and in that way, we start to uplift communities around us, to help everyone feel better about themselves, and to have the confidence to go after what's really in their heart. And that's really one of the things I love so much. I always tell everyone I train, I know what this did for me. Took me from a poor boy in the backwoods of Appalachia, and I do mean poor. You know, my dad being a Baptist missionary preacher, it was a very poor lifestyle. It took me from that to where I traveled the world, took groups of people to these sacred places in Peru, and have been traveling the United States for about 23 years now, just training people in these arts and helping them connect to nature.
Wow, that is so beautiful, and what a sacred path that you've been walking. Thank you so much for being here and dedicating yourself to this devotion. I mean, that's so incredible. Now, did you ever participate in any Peruvian plant medicine ceremonies?
I am what's called a Wuchimero, which means the San Pedro. That's one of the traditions I apprentice in. There are many. I've worked with teachers from Bolivia all the way to the northern coastal regions of Peru, and just wherever my heart felt called, wherever I felt called and was accepted to learn their medicine, which I've never been, no one's ever said no. You know, that's the thing, you know, when you get to know the medicine like this, it opens doors for you, that even barriers of language don't matter. But yeah, I have worked with that. And I also, for a little bit of a time, was an apprentice in the ayahuasca tradition as well, an ayahuasquero.
The great grandmother.
Yeah, grandmother and grandfather.
Beautiful. That's wonderful. So when you started embarking upon this spiritual journey and getting into these teachings and traditions, what was some of the major and subtle differences and transformations that you noticed, either in your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, or just your overall life and your perspective of life?
Yeah, so it just brought up, and I just kind of go with whatever pops into my head, you know. So I'll try to get around to make sure I cover all of that. But there was a point, and at this point, it was my friend's 21st birthday, and one of our friends came over, and we all had been drinking for his birthday, and we went out and we decided we needed more liquor at like 7 in the morning, so we went out to get more. And we ended up, long story short, actually having an accident where we drove off a bridge. And we drove off a bridge, hit the riverbed there, and the car was completely vertical. I ended up falling out of the car, and the car ended up exploding partly because I had liquor in it, and partly because of the accident. You know, I had created some hot spots. And after that, I went into a coma, a 3-day coma. And in that 3-day coma, my spirits came to me and they were showing me things. And they were like, you know, basically they showed me my life unfolding if I didn't change anything about my life. And I just kept following the path I did. They showed me, you'll reach enlightenment. You'll reach a level of enlightenment. You'll reach a level of personal mastery. But you're not going to live a long life, and you're going to become a statistic. You're going to, if you change nothing in your life today, you're going to die a statistic. And the promise and potential that is within you that could blossom will never blossom. And you will reach a certain level of enlightenment, but you will never touch the people you could touch. And this all happened around a rainbow. And it was interesting because my grandmother that I talked about, my grandma Curfman, who was the Christian Brujo. So in this vision, she was still alive, but she was in her 90s. She was still alive, and she came to me while I was in the coma under a rainbow, and she told me some things about my life and what needed to unfold. And then she said, Zane, this is our rainbow. And no matter no matter how much distance separates us, even death, if death separates us, we will always be able to meet under this rainbow. It will always be ours. This is a sacred place for us to meet. When I woke up from my coma, my mother was there. I told her, you got to go tell grandma that she had told me this. My mom thought it was weird, but of course she did it. Being a psychic and everything, she knew it was important. She told my grandma. When she came back, I asked her if she had told grandma, and she said, yeah, I told her. She seemed to think that you were crazy. You know, I told her that you had a vision of her and you and a rainbow, and she said you were crazy. And so after I was out of the hospital and finally well enough, because it was like a major head injury. So once I was actually well enough to go visit her, I go visit her. And, you know, we exchange the pleasantries and everything. I tell her I love her and stuff. And I say, well, Grandma, I had a vision of you in the hospital in a rainbow. And she stopped me. And she just held up her finger and she went, Zane, that's our sacred rainbow. And no matter how much time or distance separates us, we can always meet at that rainbow. The exact same thing she had said in the vision, which blew me away. And then she kind of rushed me out the door after that. because she wasn't big for long, long times of spending time with anyone. So she kind of rushed me out the door after that. So that was one of the ways that it changed my life. It made me decide I got to make a choice in my own life. Am I going to follow my medicine path? Am I going to share my medicine with the world? Or am I going to just have a personal enlightenment and then die as a statistic or at an early life? So I knew I was at that crossroads, and I chose to move forward with things. And like I had said, my life before that was filled with insecurity. I'm not saying all the insecurity changed magically at that moment. No, it's been a lifetime of work, of course. All the, changing of poverty mentalities and things like that takes some work. But it gave me the emphasis. It gave me the power. It gave me the belief in myself that I started to dream bigger dreams, And it's hard for a poor person from Appalachia to start dreaming big dreams when they don't have, when they're working at a fast food restaurant and don't have enough money to really even pay their rent and stuff. It's hard for them to start dreaming huge dreams and start thinking about changing the world. And especially when the community and the environment doesn't support that. So suddenly I had a community of spirits. And most of them were nature spirits or spirits of the lineage. And with that community of spirits, I felt supported. I could feel their power and support. More than that, with me doing very little, they would open doors for me. I would just happen to meet the right person at the right time and do the right thing. And then another door would open. When I first started teaching, it all happened. I just asked a woman who had opened a center, and I said, hey, I do this, I teach Andean shamanism. And she said, well, you're going to have to prove that to me. And she said, you're going to have to give me a healing before I give you any chance to do anything. And in that healing, she had a knee injury that she sustained at like 14, and she was in her 40s. And she had sustained it at 14 in a roller skating accident, I believe. And her knee had always bothered her. And I was there with her for 15 minutes, and the knee pain went away. And it never came back to her. And at that point, she said, okay, we've got some really good people who we work with. One of them was someone who became a really close friend of mine, Chahal Nawal. His English name was Randy Hastings, and he was the feathered serpent of the Toltec feathered serpent tradition. He was the lineage holder of that tradition. And so him and I started exchanging teachings with each other. I started teaching him the Peruvian ways. He was teaching me the Toltec and the Mayan ways. And it was a beautiful thing. And the guy that opened that center with her, he was this amazing breath work coach who taught me all kinds of things about breath that I just never really knew. And with just by having learned that from him, then I was able to discover certain breathing practices in Peru that I would never have even discovered existed if it wasn't for the fact that he had trained me, just basically sharing with me this thing. And that's what we became. It was almost like this whole area became the city of light for about 5 years, 6 years, where everyone would get together and just share their medicine with each other and share healings and talk about how we could create something in this world, something better. And that even led to the creation of something called the International Metaphysical University. And after my friend Randy died, I became the dean of shamanic anthropology because we were going for a real accredited degree system. It didn't end up getting there, but we were working with a body that accredited online colleges that helped them get their accreditation. And so we were trying to create like the first legitimate type of metaphysical university where you could go and actually get a bachelor's in something like astrology or something like shamanic anthropology. So it opened those doors, but it also just effortlessly opened this door to a conference up in the northern part of Pennsylvania, up toward New York, called the Life Spectrums Conference. And I started teaching there, and I taught there for over 7 years, just teaching in a community, And this was an old spiritist community, so everyone just shared everything with each other. And it was just such a beautiful experience. And that's how it's changed my life personally. I wrote a book, wrote my first book and shared it with the world, and that's really how it has manifested in my life. Also, it gifted me the opportunity to be a part of several terminal people's healings. And that was an amazing experience as well.
Our process here at Golden Sun, Oregon, our dielectric resin temperature, leveling, and measurement is key. We use metals to attract and repel energy, and the crystals are harmonized. Top quality ingredients, high standards, and intense care goes into each one. Place them by Wi-Fi routers, cell phones, food, and your bedroom. Drop link in bio.
That is just so beautiful. I don't really have much to say about it. It's just so pure and empowering to hear. What a beautiful journey. So out of all these places that you've traveled to and connected with the many different traditions, what's been, I don't want to say your favorite, because I'm sure that'd be really hard to say, but what's been the one that's like really stood out to you and really profoundly has like, it's really stood out to you?
There is a little town in Peru, and I went to Queiroz one time, and one of the people, because at that time to go to Queiroz, which is this little nation, about 16,000 to 21,000 feet in the mountains above Cusco, Peru. And at that time to get there, you had to basically stage an expedition. And I was accepted to come and learn from them in that mountainous place. And I had to put together a whole expedition, once again, being a very poor person, not knowing how the money would come, but somehow it did. Somehow everything worked out, and I ended up there. And while I was working with the medicine priest, the Hypocos of Queiroz, there was this guy with me, and he was just helping me. I knew some Quechua, but he was helping me translate stuff. Because it's always good to have a native-born speaker who can also speak English. And toward the end of my time there, the Quero were having me perform the despachos for them in their communities. And I was doing my prayers in Quechua, and I looked over, and his name was Alberto, and he was crying. And he was just crying. And when it was all over, he took me aside and he said, I'm a Paco, and I would be honored to share with you my family's tradition, which is different than this tradition. And I accepted. And the next time I went to Peru, I worked with him. And he took me to one of the other medicine priests, and we went to a place called Pampa Canchas, which is near Lake Titicaca in Peru. So it's it's kind of south of Cusco. And I started to apprentice him in his family's tradition. And one of the things was this village I was living in with them. No hotel or anything like that. I was just in a little room above a barn, and no bathroom, no heat, nothing like that. Just a little straw mattress on a bed. And that was the room. And below me was a donkey and a cow. And there were some chickens running around wild. And I was staying in this village, and I fell absolutely in love with that place. Because when I'd go out there, I would feel it awoken the innocence of my childhood self, of my inner child. So I was walking around those streets, and all of a sudden I felt that safety and that security I felt when I was a kid, and I would just play from sun up to sundown all by myself, out in the woods and everything. And it felt just like that there. And there was just an innocence and a lightness. And it's a poor community. It's just an indigenous mountain town. But to me, it filled my heart with so much gratitude. And at that time, I didn't want to leave. And in fact, when I did come back to the States, my plan was I was going to move there. That town meant so much to me. So Pampa Canchas is the place where I visited that really just meant so much. And I still get kind of choked up about it. Just the stream that ran through the village, it makes me want to cry almost just to think about it, because there was such a purity and innocence to it. Of course, it's humans and they have all the issues that all humans have, a village of humans, but just there was something so pristine about this. And I just loved it. I was staying with teacher Don Clemesio Mora, and I was staying in his barn. And him and his wife, they were so sweet to me. They cooked for me. They took care of me. It was just really a beautiful experience. And that's the place of every place I've been that sticks out to me.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Like I'm just like envisioning and thinking about like my experiences of, when I've traveled and I've been invited into people's homes, I've been invited into their communities, and just like that feeling of, soul family, so to say, where it's just like no question, you fit in, nobody's judging you, you're embraced, you're loved for just being and being alive and being present. And, those spaces are so valuable, especially in this time of the world where there's so much division, so much separation, so much judgment, and so on. So, yeah, those spaces are super valuable. And I'm really glad that you were able to really be a part of that.
Yeah. And I'm glad you've got to experience that too, because that's such a transformative experience to be brought in and to have people who materially have so little, but will give it all to you, and you're almost a stranger to them. And yet they'll give everything they have just to help you while you're there, just to make sure you're having a good time. And that's something great about humanity. That alone is a testament to spirituality, to someone's spirituality, that they can see that soul connection in you, even if they don't even notice it or realize what it is, but that they can be that open and that beautiful to someone else and share that space with them. I felt that with you too when we first talked, last week. I was really happy about our conversation. It just, everything flowed so easily, and it just,
Oh, yeah.
it just seemed so right.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that acknowledgement. Our conversation while sitting at the car wash. I I'm definitely not going to use the word pride because I don't pride myself on it, but it's natural for me to be as open as I am to all walks of life. Just a little bit about me for everybody out there. I'm a life path 33 in numerology. So life path 33 is a master number. It's the highest vibrational number that you can embody in your life path as a human. And what that is basically like the illuminated or the enlightened teacher, as well as a balancer. It's also a number 6 because it's 33, but it's amplified into the master column. So a life path 6 is a healer and a balancer. So I have the healing and balancing properties along with the master teacher qualities as well. And part of my being naturally, and what resonates for me to be my best self, is to be able to be open with my heart to all walks of life that I come across, as well as, provide spaces and help connect community for us all to be able to come together from a place of selfless spirit, not from a place of, there's all these conditions in order for me to connect with you, or you have to pay all this money in order to be in a space with me, and things like that. So I kind of am here to break those cultural beliefs that are limiting upon, if you're in this culture, you gotta stay over here. If you're in that culture, you're not allowed over in this culture, and things like that. I'm really here to help break down those barriers so that we can naturally just blend together as humanity. And there's many of us here doing that, including you yourself with the beautiful medicine path that you're on. I really want to go to Peru one day. Peru is definitely on my bucket list, and I would love to be a part of the medicine out there. That is something on my list for sure. So, something that I notice for people when they go through these different medicine traditions is that they will break patterns. They'll also break generational cycles as well as addiction and other things. Now, were any of those things prevalent for you when you stepped into this tradition? Were you in any addiction? Were there any patterns that you really struggled with that it helped you with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could say that I was exactly addicted in the traditional sense of addiction. I've had my experiences with the drug world, and I sometimes took those experiences too far. You know, but I don't want to necessarily say I was ever truly addicted to anything in particular, other than that lifestyle. And you know, it was like kind of a poly drug use lifestyle where you kind of use different types of substances at different times, whatever was available at that time. And it did help me break that. You know, like I said, especially with that experience with the coma and seeing that it wasn't that it would stop my own spiritual development, but that it was going to cut my life short, you know. And when I really realized all of that, I started to make some monumental changes. But one of the biggest things for me was poverty mentality, because I was born so poor and we had so little. You know, it was so very hard. That creates its own community. You know, the impoverished community, it has its own mindset. And that mindset's very limiting as to what you're allowed to do, as to how much pride or love you can even show for yourself, you know, because everyone just kind of in that community knocks each other down and keeps them at one level, you know. And so it really gave me the strength to kind of rise above. And rise above, I'm not saying that it's something low or bad or evil or anything like that. I just meant that it was holding me back, so I was able to lift myself up. But as you lift yourself up, you also realize that you're lifting yourself up just so you can give a hand to someone else in the same situation, so that you can reach and help someone else lift up too. Because we don't do it alone. Nothing we do in our lives is completely alone and of our own power. Our power is based on those that we touch and those in our community. So, you know, it really did help me to see that. It helped me to not judge the community I was kind of coming up out of, but at the same time to realize that vibration wasn't me anymore, and that I could give myself the right to step up out of that. I could give myself I didn't have to sit there and every time I was teaching something struggle anymore with the idea, well, I'm just a poor boy from Appalachia. You know, I'm just this poor, what do I have to show or share? And it really helped me to develop something beautiful inside of myself. I'm not saying that thing inside of myself wasn't always there. And that's the thing about these traditions. When they're beautiful and when they're real passionate and traditions with roots that go back generations and everything, what they have is a system of personal development that helps you to give birth to what's inside of you. It doesn't give you what's inside of you. It was always there. It just helps you to find it and then to give it the necessary energy so that you can then start to share it with others. And in that way, it transformed everything about my life. You know, it transformed the way I thought. And probably the hardest part of all that was creating proper boundaries in my own life. You know, not just proper boundaries with other people saying, hey, you can't, you know, encroach on these type of things toward me, but to actually put up boundaries as to what I could do as well. And it wasn't to limit myself. It was to protect myself in a sense. It was to help protect this. It's like a newly sprouted seed. You know, that newly sprouted seed had just sprouted in me. And I had to protect it, because there's two different ways that people go when they get enlightened. They either get enlightened and they go into complete kind of hysteria and mania, and almost an ecstatic thing, and they can lose themselves. They can lose themselves in the enthusiasm of the moment. They can lose themselves and give their power away. They can do all kinds of stuff because they get so turned on by what just happened. Or that newly sprouted seed can be rejected, and then it shrivels up again and goes back inside. So I understood that I had to create proper boundaries around myself. And just to keep that seed growing, so that it could come into its flowering, and so that I could share that gift with other people, that gift of watching them flower into their own lives and what that does to them, and these medicine paths do unique things for all of us, and that's how it's supposed to be. We're not all supposed to be the same. We're not all supposed to get the same lesson from it. We're all supposed to get what is there for us, and to accept that and to bring that into us. And so it did change me in those ways. The other thing was having been poor my life and really struggled for all of this. I had to really fight hard to even put aside money to eventually get to Peru and all that. It was a real struggle to go through, to accomplish. And I never forgot that. I've never forgotten that. So, in my programs, I do apprenticeships and things like that take like 9 months or to a year to do. And I put a price tag on that, but I've always remembered where I came from. And I always make sure that there are opportunities for scholarships, that there's opportunities for those type of things for people. So that, because I know that without the little bits of help I got from people to get where I was going, I'd never made it there. So especially with something like this, it's a labor of love. We have to make enough to pay for the retreat center we're at, or to pay for different aspects of the program. But I've never forgotten that how important it is to give back and to leave it open enough. So every one of my programs, if someone really feels called to it, I always tell them, just reach out to me. We'll work something out, whether that's a partial scholarship on tuition, or if they can show how it's going to really, how they see it blooming in their life, how they feel so called to it. I even give full scholarships to my programs, for those people. And some of my best students, I have 2 or 3 that come to mind that they pretty much had full scholarships to the program. They just did a little bit of energy exchange for me here and there. And the tradition for them meant so much, it transformed their life. And to see that, and to know to give that back, to know to allow that, within all of this. Because it's not, my teachers are poor as dirt too. You go to Peru, and I'm telling you, when you go into those indigenous villages, they're not rolling in the money. They're living a farming, agrarian culture life. And almost everything they get is either from selling the weavings they make or from teaching the tradition. And of course, we in the West think that everyone who's indigenous in Peru is a shaman or something. And that's not true. Even of their villages, it's a very small percentage of people who follow the medicine path. They're born with a more mystical sense than a lot of people in North America. But still, there's a small percentage of them that will follow one of these paths. And, and it's such an honor to be able to share that. My teachers, they understood my struggles when I talked to them and when I went there. And they were like, the first thing they said was, well, why don't you go to your Pacos in the mountains? And I had to explain that in North America, we just didn't really have that anymore. That was something that got lost here. And so, part of them teaching me, they said, we're teaching you so you take this medicine there and do this medicine there. So that nobody, and this was a different time, of course, but so that nobody has to risk their lives coming to Peru. Nobody has to sit on the plane anymore and get here to find sacredness. Take this sacredness back with you. Share it with your people. That was kind of, we call it being chakaruna, which means a bridge person, a bridge between cultures and traditions. And that was what I was kind of set up to be. I was sent back, and they said, we're giving you the real, to use their words, the real bakukuna. You take it up there and you share it with your people so that the sacredness returns to your land.
Wow, man. So many resonant similarities in our paths, and it's so beautiful that we have met. I'm just like feeling and thinking of like just the power of two figures like us crossing paths with the similarities of the way that we walk in a Christ conscious type of fashion, where we're not placing more barriers and we're not judging and we're not separating, but bringing in unity and equalness and neutrality, 0 point.
Yes.
Getting people back to the center of, non-attachment, non-judgment, unconditional love and compassion. Wow. Are you familiar with the shamanic Cincinnati and Louisville community?
Yeah, one of the women down in Kentucky, Vicky Joe, I've known
Yep,
her.
I know her.
I've known her for years. She came to one of my events years and years ago in the mountains of West Virginia, and I met her. And we actually worked on putting together something at one time called the Salkamune Ayu. So I knew her. And just a few weeks ago, I met Kim and Don Eduardo. I had talked with Don Eduardo before.
Yeah.
We just met them a couple weeks ago. And I am aware of them. And when I've been talking with them more in the last couple weeks here since I met some of the other people there.
Beautiful. I'm actually very familiar with them, and I wouldn't say I'm like in the community, but I'm basically tied in, and I know a lot of them. At the Serpent Mountain event a couple of weeks ago for the eclipse, we were all there, and Don, his whole team, and my buddy Kevin was there, Kevin Reelman.
Yeah, I met Kevin too. He's really cool.
Yep, that's my good buddy. Kim's actually in the comments right now, and she actually commented. She said, "So glad Zane is speaking and doing this. Such an excellent maestro." And I'm not going to know how to say this correctly, but it's a Paco, and then Mune Sango, Apele San Quale.
Oh, Arpichai Son Kolai, Arpichai Kim, Arpichai Panichai. It means a dove from my heart. And that's a way of saying thank you. So Paiki, it's a way of saying thank you so much. Thank you in a way that's different than here. It's not just saying thank you or being so like, oh my mind, I know so much thanks for you. It's actually saying that inside of my heart, the thanks has caused a flutter. And that flutter is like the beating wings of a dove. And I'm offering you that fluttering dove of my heart. And that's what that means. I offer you the fluttering dove of my heart, the flowering of this love, and I offer it to you without any condition, because I see the munaicha, which means impersonal beauty. Munaicha is like when you look out at a sunset, and everyone can say, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful sunset. And it's that type of sharing. It's saying, thank you. It's fully embodied. Thank you, Kim. Absolutely.
Yeah, I did some beautiful energy work on her that weekend, and we had some awesome conversations too. And one of those conversations was actually about galactic beings. Do you have any experiences with galactic beings as well?
Well, in the tradition, we have something called the Chaska Runa. And Chaska Runa means star beings. But it also means the physical stars, the spirits of each of those physical stars out there, kind of like angelic, energetic beings. And the idea in our tradition is that basically we each come from a star. So one of those stars out there is the source of our energy. And before we're able to be born, and I know this is getting a little off the subject of the galactic beings, just a little bit, but before we are born, our light comes from that star, and it chooses a mother and father that have the right genetic energy. The right genetic energy for us to fulfill some kind of purpose in our world. And it can bring them together for one night of love. They may part ways after that and never see each other again, but it can bring them together for one night of love. Our light is so powerful. It can bring two people together. And then the mother is called to somewhere on earth. And we see it as complete, just random circumstance. But somehow your mother ended up somewhere on earth where she gave birth to you. And that place is no mistake, because that place is the place that has brought in your starlight. So the mother has a little piece of that starlight inside of her that is growing. And then there's two nature beings called our Pakarina and our Ituapu, and they bring in our starlight as well. And they manufacture our energy bubble for us. So your mother gets called to the place to give birth to you, so that when she gives birth to you, the nature gives you a soul body that surrounds you. Your spirit's inside that little baby, but the moment you're born, you get enveloped in a soul body of the place you were born. And that's no mistake, because within that soul body is your life's purpose, is what you came into this incarnation for. And it's a cooperative effort between the genetic energy of your mother and father and the galactic nature energy of your nature mom and dad, coming together in alignment with a star's light to give birth to you. And then through your life and honoring your background, honoring your nature, as you heal the wounds to the place you were born and heal the wounds to the family that you were born into, as you heal those wounds, eventually you're able to reconnect with that galactic being of your star. And through your nature mom and dad and your star, you can step through a door in this reality that starts to re-inform you of why you came here to begin with. And that's something so important. None of us were born in the wrong spot, and none of us were born to the wrong parents. They might not have been great parents, but they had that DNA and that nature energy had to mix together to give you the opportunity. It's not a promise, but the opportunity that you could develop your light into something great. And at one point, reunite with your star family, reunite with that energetic quality within yourself.
Wow, beautiful explanation of that. That's so beautiful. Yeah, I've had many experiences with the star beings and the galactics, heavily guided with them and connected with them, and I do a lot of channeling. I actually uncovered that my soul originates from the elder Lyra of humanity. And I also have been initiated by a spirit, I think it was probably like a year ago maybe, to start doing what I call soul origin meditations. And what I do is I take people into meditation, I basically connect with their higher self, and their higher self then channels through me how to guide the meditation for them. And through that guidance, I basically connect them to the messages and the information through the meditation that they need from their higher self to be able to come into realization and come into remembrance of where their soul origin is. And it's such a beautiful, authentic practice that I haven't studied from anybody else or seen anybody else do. You know, there's people that do Akashic records, there's people that do meditations, and what I do is basically a balance and a bridge of both. So with that being said, not only am I going to read your Akashics, but I'm also going to put you into a guided meditation which helps you be able to heal aspects of your soul fragments that could still be fractured, that still could be traumatized in different star planets and other places that you've incarnated on. So like a lot of us, we have an origin somewhere, and then we may incarnate onto another planet. Like for example, I know for myself, I've been incarnated on Sirius as well as Orion in the Pleiades. So we have a whole entire soul journey that's beyond just the human body and a human journey. And yeah, it's such a surreal, but also the most real thing is like really uncovering this stuff and discovering these aspects of ourselves. What was I about to say? Oh, so I want to ask you about, because Kim actually was the one that introduced me to that beautiful tool that you guys carry. I can't remember the name. What's the name again?
Misha.
Misha. Okay.
Misha.
And
In Spanish,
what
they
is
call it mesa.
And what is that for everybody out there?
Okay, so what this is it's a bundle, and within it are sacred objects we call kuyas. And kuyas there's different ways that you get kuyas. Sometimes a kuya comes from a teacher of yours that charges something with a medicine for you. Sometimes it comes from one of your own, like vision quest. When you go out to a mountain, it's rare, but sometimes you'll receive a high kuya. You'll receive something like from Mount Ansangante, from Wamalipa, from Kororiti. You'll receive these high kuyas, and they have high energy and medicine. And they're like a telephone line, if you will, straight to that experience and straight to that being. The way I like to describe it the most is this Misha, the word means symbol. In Quechua, Misha means symbol. The full name of this is a Misha Kepe. And Kepe means bundle. It's a bundle of symbols. And inside of this, the best way for me to explain it is it's a mirror of heaven. This is my soul in a symbolic form that always reminds me of my perfected self. So if I don't feel strong one day, if I don't feel like I can do something, but I have to do a healing for someone, this can do it because this is me perfected. And inside of it is my journey, a perfect representation of my journey. But more than that, this is the symbol of office within our tradition. So every Paco carries a Misha. And there's basically there's many Mishas out there, but they kind of align in two different ways. They're either the Pampa Misha or the Alto Misha. And the Alto means high Misha, and Pampa means like a field, low Misha. But they're not high and low like we think of high and low in our world. It's not like one's better than the other. They're just different, unique gifts. So one who carries the low Misha is a Pampa Masayok. One who carries the high Misha is an Alto Masayok. But we need the Pampa and the Alto, and we need to work together because neither one of us is better than the other. We just have a different unique way of relating to the spirit world. That's what it represents, is your unique path with spirit. So this reminds me of that. And this is my telephone line all the time to my spirits and to my mission. And in a ritualistic way, you can program this. So you can program it to help you learn information. And those kuyas are alive. Every one of those stones in there, you don't get anything dead in the Misha. Everything there is alive. And that means it has information. And so it teaches me when I need taught. It is my most precious thing in this world, is my Misha. And I love it so much. And it has helped me through so many times. And I have received so many direct downloads. It allows you to receive direct downloads from those high apus, those mountains that you work with, from all the spirits of the lineage that you work with, because this is an unbroken lineage. That's one of the most beautiful things about this Andean tradition. Though there's many, many different Andean traditions, what's beautiful is they're all living traditions, meaning there was never one moment in time when there wasn't a priest doing this. It has always been passed down from grandfather to grandson, from grandmother to granddaughter. It has been passed down since time immemorial, and it has evolved with humanity itself. It always reminds us, because the people of Peru, they're practical people. They don't hold on to anything just because grandpa did it. They hold on to it because it has power, because it can directly, practically transform your life. And if it can't do that, there's no reason to hold on to it. So, and to understand that in these little mountain villages, there's no hospital. Like in Keros, for instance. Now, there are a couple areas of Keros that are closer to civilization, but for the most part, you're looking at the minimum of a one-day hike to the nearest hospital to get treated for something. And that's the minimum. If you're at some place like Hatinqueros or Kiko or one of those places, you're looking at maybe a 3-day hike just to get to an access road where you might get picked up by someone and them help drive you. So everything, whether it's settling disputes in the village between two people, whether it's doing a healing for someone, whatever it is, it had to hold weight. They don't have time to hold on to things that don't work. So this is a living tradition that has been faithfully passed down through the generations. And one of the beautiful things is that I always tell everyone is that every Paco, once they're sanctioned to teach, is like a pope of the tradition. You know how the Pope dictates and can say, this is how we do it, or that's how we do it. Each Paco, once they're sanctioned, gets that right as well. To fashion out of their own medicine a unique way of sharing that medicine. And that's just one of the things I love so much about this tradition, that it honors the uniqueness of every single person. And it says that you have something special in you, and you have a whole unique, special way of looking at everything. And it honors that. It says you have the right to have that. You have the right to share that. You have the right to experience that and to play with it. You know, you have the right to prove it to yourself. So that's what this is. It's called a misha, or mesa in Spanish.
That's so beautiful. Wow, thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, and like the weaving itself, this outer cloth here takes, depending on how much work you want to put into it, it takes approximately, I'm going to say 6 months to make one of these, because they make it by hand. They're not manufactured. The men spin the thread from the llama fur. Then they dye the collar. They dye it the collars, and those are natural dyes. The red comes from a little insect in the Amazon. It has to come all the way from the Amazon, and just for them to get that red collar. And you know, so it takes a long time to manufacture one of these. And every thread, every pattern on this is a prayer. They're praying while they make it. And these Misha cloths contain prayers. More than that, Quechua was not a written language. They had no written form of their language. The way they held on to the information was these patterns, was these weavings. And they would lay down the cloths. And different ways that you lay down the cloths, they can tell you different things. They can tell different stories that are being passed from the most remote time to today. And it's very beautiful. Just that whole tradition, the tradition of the weaving alone, is beautiful. But yeah, thank you for asking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's so wonderful. How beautiful is that it's not even a broken lineage too. That is so powerful in this time of the world where there's many broken lineages. Wow.
And I see it kind of like an opportunity when we get these, and it's not the only unbroken lineages in the world. There's others out there, but when you get to sit with an unbroken lineage, what it can do is it can fill in gaps in the broken lineages, and in the new lineages that don't have the deep roots of the ancient world, it can fill in those gaps and make it stronger. It can give them those roots, because we need those deep roots. Those deep roots help us to stay grounded in our reality. And we need that. And we need a lineage. That's another thing. Spiritual work needs a lineage that you can trust. And in these traditions, you can go and you can touch and you can communicate with the lineage itself. Some of the lineage have even been married to the mountains to become very great apus, like Mama Simona. And then because there's certain priests that can have a unique relationship with the nature being. And you don't want to lose that just because that priest dies. So that priest, kind of like a Buddha, can offer themselves, and then if the community does the ceremonies, they can marry the priest to a mountain, and then that priest can continue to teach their community from that mountain forever. They can continue, and that's another form, that's a high type of Apu. When it's not just the pure spirit of nature of the mountain, but it also has a lineage holder that helps to translate the information of the mountain. Because the nature spirits, part of my work is to teach people how to commune with the nature spirits. And they don't talk like we talk. They don't have words like we have. It's a whole different type of sacred communication. And not everyone can understand that language. Not everyone can step into that language and can have a relationship. I mean, everyone can have the relationship, but they can't always understand what's happening or bring up the revelations from it and be inspired and things like that. So when there's a priest that can do that and speak to the pure spirits of nature, well, you don't want to lose that, And then our lineage is there to step in. So when I'm doing my healings with my Misha, when I work with someone, when I do my initiations and stuff like that, I'm not doing it alone. I'm doing it under the power of nature. Those nature beings that are related to the tradition, they stand around me and support me. And I have a lineage, an unbroken lineage that goes into the remotest past that is standing there, seeing the ceremony being played out, and is working on the other side to help in the healings, to help in the work that you're doing, the initiations, the healings, whatever you're doing. And that's such a beautiful opportunity in this world to make, because these traditions, to become part of it, you become part of a family. It's really a family tradition. And you become part of that family. And you become a descendant of that lineage, of that line. And they will help you as much as they help everyone else in the family. Because that's the beauty of it. And that's such an awesome opportunity. And the opportunity that he gives us to look at our own traditions that are newer, and our own traditions that have broken pieces in them, to be able to see this ancient tradition that has persevered into the modern world gives us a window into all of humanity's remote past, how we all were at one time. And that gives us an opportunity to reclaim and bring back from the Akashic record, from the ethers, techniques and teachings that were lost in our past. And as we do that, we can actually resurrect lineages, spiritual lineages. And that is something so beautiful, because as all that information, we're at this crucial moment in time. We call it the Tera Paipacha, which means the age of re-meeting ourselves. But my teachers in Keros, they always explained it as the age of re-encounter, that the tribes of man were called by nature to different places to develop what was unique in them. You might think, I'm going over here because I think I'm going to find fortune or fame or an easier life, but really the spirits are calling you there. And that happened early in humanity, and we went out to the four corners of the earth so that we could develop what was unique about each one of us, each tribe of man. And now we're in this time where all of those tribes of men have come back together, and we're reweaving this. It's sort of like this cloth here. We're reweaving the story of humanity. And we're all openly sharing our technology, our spiritual technologies, our spiritual understandings. And if we can do that, and we can accept and celebrate the differences, because it's not in the way things are the same. It's in the way that they're different that you find the gold. That's where we're going to find and if we can accept that and not look at it as, oh no, they got to be wrong because they're doing it that way and I do it this way. If we can say, well, that's right for them and this is right for me. Now let me celebrate what's right for them. Let them celebrate what's right for me. And then we will rebirth a version of the Incan Empire, which starting with Viracocha Inca and his son Pachacuti, it became, they spread the empire not by conquering the tribes around them, but by creating a co-op that helped everyone survive and have a better standard of living. And they did this through the understanding of your God is my God is your God. So Viracocha Inca started going out to his neighbors and saying, show me your sacred tradition. I'll show you my sacred tradition. If we celebrate what's different about that, let's grow the empire based on our differences and based on acknowledging and celebrating those differences and saying they have every right. We have every right to be different and multicolored and different patterns. And that's how the Inca Empire grew to the largest intercontinental empire of the ancient world.
Wow. Well said. Well said. And you know, like on top of that, you also get opportunity to expand within your tools by learning from each other the different cultural ways and different practices.
Yep.
And on top of that, it also just is also another example of abundance and the abundance that we have on this earth while we're here. And the more that we open up to these type of connections and bridging of these pathways, then all it does is clear away that resistance and the blockages that are creating lack and scarcity within our beings and in the collective, because we'll come to that remembrance that, like you said, even though we're all in different corners, different cultures and communities, we're still all doing things that help bring spirit, help bring higher self into this physical plane. And it's just really what resonates authentically to your DNA and your being is what's going to really, you know, draw to us and feel like our calling. And yeah, you know, it's just so beautiful to really see this happening at this time in this world, where we're really starting to open our hearts and open our minds and bridge those together and start to really embrace not only the differences, but within these embracements, we also see the similarities within the cultures.
Yeah.
And wow, man, we could be really surprised to see how similar a lot of these different traditions are, but just in their own tweaked way that's authentic for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, you know, and so I'm a carrier of a prophecy that's not well known in the world that comes from the Inca. And it's a prophecy that comes from the region of Lake Titicaca, from the Amara people. And it has to do with something called the Qatari. And I'm not going to go into all the depth of what that means, but it's how we personally become a person of light, you know, in this lifetime, how we can master our own light. But beyond that, it's also a story of the whole of humanity. And the Qatari is based on the understanding that all of the indigenous cultures of the world once saw the earth in the symbol of a serpent. Once saw that the earth was a symbol of the serpent. And it says that at the end of an age, there will come a time when everyone will love and respect who they are so much and will honor what they have received from spirit so much and freely share that with each other so much that they start to glow. Each human will glow with a unique colored light. A unique light that's different than anyone else's light, a different shade. Even if you had a twin brother, you'd have a slightly different shade than your twin brother's light. And as you honor that, and as you start to step into what the promise of that light, the promise of your illumined self, it's like you're walking up to the top of a mountain, which is the spine of the earth. The mountains are the great spines of the earth, and you're planting a flag, if you will, into that mountain of your unique colored light. And as you plant those into the earth, into these mountain ranges, they start to look like the rainbow colored feathers of a hummingbird. And as more and more of us start to come into our own power, and we start to put our flags into those mountains, eventually we get to the point where we can share that light with each other, and we're okay with our differences then, and we see it as just part of our beauty. And as we're doing that, there's a communitarian action that happens as all the people are sharing their gifts with each other, and it's like those wings, it's like those feathers start to rustle. They start to get a wind in them, and they start to kind of, open up the wings. And as the human family starts to acknowledge the beauty in all of our differences and our similarities, it's like a condor opening rainbow-colored wings on the spine of the earth. And this spine of the earth is the spine of the serpent. And the serpent has now been adorned with these wings. And as we share and as we mix our knowledge together, it's like those wings start to beat on the back of Mother Earth, on this feathered serpent. And in that day and age, the stars will change because the earth will be in a new place in the heavens. And when the earth is in a new place in the heavens, everything about our laws of physics, everything about our reality will slightly change with that. And it's like Mother Earth is the ultimate spaceship, flying us to a brand new place where things are different. But it takes all of us waking up. It takes all of us waking up and sharing what's beautiful with each other, by going after our dreams and claiming our right to life, claiming our right to beauty and our sharing of that beauty with each other, to actually create these rainbow-colored wings of this rainbow-colored condor serpent that can then fly all of humanity to a brand new dimension where things are different, where things aren't the same anymore. And that's just such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful promise that if we, and it's so simple too, it's just through sharing. It's just through breaking bread with each other. It's just through, being the best of what humanity is, becoming the best humans on the planet and being that with each other in one big family, we can change all of reality. And I just love that.
Ooh-wee. Wow. I'm starting to float over here. I'm starting to forget that we're in a physical realm. It's just beautiful medicine in this podcast today. Jeez.
Absolutely. Yeah, I thank you so much for letting me be on this. And I'm so glad that our paths have crossed. I'm so glad that I've crossed paths with Don Eduardo and Kim and Vicky and Kevin and everyone out there, because, this is the beginning of that. This is the beginning of us taking that step as humanity. And, we all are stepping into a new age. We're stepping into the age of AI. We just came out of the pandemic, and we are still dealing with the repercussions of all of that. And it's told us we have to become a better humanity. That was really the message we got from all of that. And now that we're starting to create an artificial intelligence, it's time for us to step up so that we can be good creators to that. So that can be a tool to lead us to a greater humanity, not a tool for our base nature to bring us down further. We're at a period of time where every person on this planet is programming the parameters of a brand new age. And let's dream something great, because our dreams are powerful.
Wow. That all resonates for me, especially with the AI. And that could be another conversation, maybe another time. But, AI, for me, when I really became clear within myself and started really finding my balance and groundedness, I really dissolved fear a lot in my body and in my being. And with that, I also shed the propaganda and the program that had been fearfully pressed onto us as humans surrounding AI, like, AI taking over in the future and all that type of stuff. Just really dissolved that and just came to a neutral place of love. And when I did that, I started stepping into the perspective of observing, realizing, and remembering how much benefit how much positivity, how much expansion, how much amplification, and so much more AI has brought for our human lives here. I mean, if we didn't have AI, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now live for people to be a part of. We wouldn't even have podcasts. We wouldn't be able to connect with each other long distancely in these physical matters. I mean, there's so much that I can really go on and on and on about that AI provides for us. And when I started thinking about what's present with us with AI, then I started thinking, wow, what's going to expand and advance with us with AI? And that was when I started going into a little bit of timeline peering intuitively. And with that timeline peering, you know, I was really seeing and sensing, you know, Tesla free energy technologies utilizing AI to be able to initiate these energy technologies for us, using AI for, you know, transportational portals, or for, you know, doing the things that we don't want to do laboriously on our human bodies. And then we could focus more on our families, our love, the things that we want to create. Well, then AI is taking care of the heavy laborious things that literally destroy and bring detriment to our physical and human lives.
Yeah.
I mean, like, think about all the people out there in the workforce that are on prescription painkillers, that are addicted to substances, that could barely even enjoy their life because of the laborious work that we have to do.
Yeah.
So, like, you think about that, and then think about the possibilities of what AI can help us do with taking that load off of us, so then we can focus on the more important things that are based with our heart and love. Man, I'm here for it. Like, I am absolutely here for it. I embrace it.
Yeah, I see it like a child. You know, AI is a brand new child that's being birthed into the world. We got to just surround it with the right environment. Give it the proper nourishment and the proper understandings to do good things for us. I think a lot of the fear with AI comes from the fact that, just like with COVID did the same thing. It showed us where our cultures weren't working, where there wasn't a good enough safety net anywhere in the world for a disaster like that. And it showed us our vulnerabilities. And that's hard to see as a human. It's uncomfortable. Now AI is showing other vulnerabilities where it comes to ideas like right to life. You know, and what I mean by that is ideas of what you're supposed to do to have a right to have a good life. You know, and right now we are in this older paradigm of, you know, the harder you work or fight for it, it gives you the right to a good life. And AI is going to show us, if we do this right, it's going to show us that we're going to have to create a brand new way of organizing our cultures, a brand new way of looking at economy, a brand new way of looking at abundance, a brand new way of looking at life itself. And that's scary for humanity, because humanity gets kind of, you know, we're slow to change, and we would rather just stick with what we know oftentimes. And we're entering into a brand new paradigm, and AI is telling us, well, we have an opportunity. We're either going to use it to advance humanity, or we're going to use it to retard humanity. But regardless, the genie's out of the bottle. We've got to handle it in a responsible way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And yeah, like you said, you know, it comes down to our intentions, and it comes down to the programming that we program the AI to.
Yep.
And that's just really what it comes down to.
Yep. And I think that I think we're on a great trajectory. I think there's a lot of, we're going to have some hiccups in the system. We're not there yet. And that's part of our growth. And that's part of us transforming. And that's part of us becoming becoming the best version of the humanity we can be. We're getting there, though. And I know we're getting there. We're getting closer and closer, because as there's always this push and pull in reality. So as things advance, there's also other things that push back. And we're starting to watch as the older way of existing is coming right up face to face and fighting the new way of existing. And there is a real battle going on, and that battle, we're all in it. And it's really about us deciding, where do we want humanity to go now? What kind of humanity do we want to see in the future? Who do we want to become? Not just by the end of my lifespan, but 20,000 years from now. Who are we going to become? Because right now, we have that opportunity to program that dream. These ancient traditions had got us here. They've all been talking about this moment here, this coming together of the tribes of man, this coming together for something greater, this cosmic change in the order of our humanity, of our earth. Now, though, it's up to us to take all that information and wisdom that they have preserved and passed on to us, and to start to write the next script, to start to write the next chapter of humanity. But we need to listen to the wisdom of the elders as we go forward, because they got us here. You know, I like to say that that every generation, our ancestors are, through their own lives, through their bones, building our stairway to heaven. Through their wisdom, through what they've left behind, they create one more step on the stairway to heaven that we're walking.
That's right. And we're creating the steps right now for the future generations.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow. Man, oh man. What a beautiful, beautiful session tonight. Is there anything at all that you would like to share regarding like what all entails when it comes to the Peruvian teachings, or what it is that people can kind of get an idea of being involved in when it comes to that?
Yeah, I mean, I teach apprenticeships in the Alto Messiah branch of the priesthood. There's many different Peruvian branches, though. That's one of the things. Every family holds one of these lineages. Every community holds one of these unbroken lineages and has passed it forward into the future. But the real thing about it is, it's about acknowledging that deep within you is a seed. Deep within you is a seed of potential. And that seed of potential is only potential. It's only potential. And potential means partly fantasy. It's not going to do anything. You can have the potential to do great things. It doesn't mean you'll ever do them. But what these traditions that come from Peru, the Paco Cuna traditions, what they do is they hold a body of wisdom that is the process to germinate these seeds of potential within you, to bring them to germination and then bring them to flower. And that is only possible when we reconnect with the unseen world. Because what we need to generate the awesome power to bring to flower our seed of potential is a reconnection to the spirits of nature herself, to really realize that Mother Earth is the most beautiful mother you could ever have. She is our quintessential mother, and she's a living being. She's not just some ball of rock flying around the sun. She is our physical mother. The sun is our physical father. We're all brothers and sisters. The plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, they're all our brothers and sisters. And on some level, everything in existence is alive. And because everything in existence is alive, if we learn to tune into the right frequencies, we can start relationships with everything in our living universe. As we strengthen those relationships, that is the coming together of the spiritual energy needed to germinate our seed and bring it to flower. But we can't do it alone. It takes a community, and it takes a community of nature beings to help us get there. Learning how we must be with them, not how they must be with us, but how we must be with them, how we can fall into alignment with their energy, tap into their wisdom, and then that can show us something special inside of ourselves. And as that shows us this special thing, the seed starts to pop open. And as a seed starts to pop open, it starts to grow. And as it starts to flower, when it gets to that point of flowering, That's how, when we start to share with each other. So on the very minimum, go out and find the sacred places in your neighborhood. Go take walks. Communicate with the sun. Go out and enjoy a sunny day and sit in the sun. Enjoy the rain and sit in the rain. When it's snowing, enjoy the snow and go out into that riti that's falling all around you. And be aware of how, when you're in nature, when you get away from the man-made structures and you just get into pure nature again, how you reconnect with something special in yourself, how you de-stress, and how you soften the edges of yourself. Because that's what the nature beings teach us. They teach us, in the tradition we call it yampu, which means to be soft, to learn to soften our edges. And as we learn to soften our edges, we allow more of a flow of living energy between things. And as we reestablish that flow of living energy, we each, no matter what tradition you follow, no matter what you do, just by doing this alone, you become like an acupuncture needle in the meridian of the earth. And you start to send out and reestablish the flows of energy through your community, through your nature beings, through larger and larger networks like spider webs of energy that go through the entire universe. And as you do that, you start to reawaken potential in yourself, in the planet, and in the community. And all that really takes is for you all to go out there and start to enjoy nature again. Start to remember that humanity is part of nature. We are the sons and daughters. We are the Intik Cherikuna, the Pachamama Cherikuna. That's the children of the sun, the children of the earth. We are the Kanchai Runakuna. We are the children of light. We are the people of light. We are the Kuichi Runakuna, the rainbow tribe. And it's time for us to find our right place in nature again. For each of us to become that acupuncture meridian needle that is helping the entire grid work of sacredness spread throughout the planet, to reawaken the sacred sites of every land. So you don't have to go to Peru ever again. You don't have to go to Africa. You don't have to go to those places to touch the sacred anymore, because everyone's backyard will be vibrating with sacredness. And then if you go to Peru, it's because you just want to love Peru. You go to Africa just to love and experience the culture, not because it has something you have to have, because you're missing it, but because now we're sharing with each other. You go just to share the experience of being human with each other. And that's really at the heart what the Paco Cuna tradition of Peru is. It's about us reestablishing our divine connection with our sacred parents, the sun and the earth, and how we can re-sacralize or make sacred the entire world again just by doing that. If nothing else, everyone go out, enjoy your neighborhood, take your dog for a walk, feel the different vibrations from one area of the neighborhood to another area of the neighborhood, and realize that those are kind of like chakra centers and energy centers, and that, you know, and then you'll just naturally get to the point where you'll notice imbalances sometimes, and all you have to do is be yourself, and the balance is restored.
Yeah, wow, so beautifully said. Kim in the comments said, monthly despacho, Carpi ceremony, Ochuma ceremony, and the trip in August through shamanic community of Louisville, Cincinnati, and Atlanta. They are opportunities to get involved as well. Thank you, great show, One Sango. And then Kevin also put some emojis as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There are all kinds of opportunities to taste this medicine. I have an online course that will be coming up that is a deep apprenticeship. It takes about 9 months to go through the whole thing, but I'll have one of those coming up, receiving carpais, doing the despachos, going into community, sitting with people who are doing these things, sharing the medicine, sitting in hoop with each other. That's what brings the sacredness back. That's what helps us grow. Explore Follow your heart. Your heart will lead you to what you need to learn. Just be open to it and follow it. Once, when it hits, it's like the little hummingbird. Little hummingbird in South America receives a calling to come to North America, but its wings are only this big, and it has to eat like every 20 minutes. So that little hummingbird feels the ancestral call, and it says, oh, I got to go to North America, but my wings are so little. I have to eat constantly. I don't have enough wings. I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough food. Yet they set out anyway. Even though they're not sure how they'll ever make it, they set out everywhere anyway. And every year they migrate all the way to North America and all the way to South America. A little bird that uses up all this energy every 20 minutes and it has to feed again. Think of that. Yet it will say yes to the call of spirit when it says, go to North America or come back to South America. We all have a little hummingbird within us. And the other thing about the hummingbird is it can feed off of any flower. Even a poisonous flower, it can feed off of and receive the nectar of. And that means that if we can develop that quality, that siwarkinte, quality in ourselves, we can feed from every spiritual flower. And it won't pollute us. It won't hurt us. It will feed us and make us stronger and better. So go out there, feel the doves of your heart. Munai sanko.
Wow. Now, as we close out, where can everybody find you at? Also, where can they find your trainings, your programs, and do you have anything coming up?
I just actually started a hybrid apprenticeship in Northern Ohio. That's 8 months long. It meets once a month, and then there's online classes in between those months. And it's a complete training and initiation into this tradition. And I'm talking with the people of the shamanic community of Cincinnati and all that to put together another program like that in that region in Southern Ohio there. And and you can find me at the Wild Hearts Medicine Society, Hearts with an S. So it's wildhearts.com. That's my website. But the easiest way to find out what I'm doing is Facebook. Just friend me on Facebook. It's Zane Curfman on Facebook. I'll always post everything I'm getting into and doing on there. There's all kinds of opportunities for teachings and things. You'll always find me there, though.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. I'll be sure to put any links down in the description on the YouTube so people can get linked in with you. And I'll also put up a nice visual screenshot of the things that you were describing when I edit this, so they have the visual and actually can see what it is you're talking about and how to access it. It'll be coming over you speaking and talking about it in this podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll send you my links to my website. That way people don't have to try to remember it, They can just click on it.
Yep, exactly. Put it in the description below.
Yep. Awesome.
Wow. Well, honestly, I don't even know what to say. I don't have words for how beautiful this session was. Thank you so much, Zane, for being here, sharing your gifts, sharing your medicine, and just being a vessel for spirit.
As we open the circle, I'd just like to close it as well, if that's all right. And basically, just feeling all that warmth and sacredness in your heart. Whatever you received, whatever you heard, whatever touched you during this moment, during this little conversation, let that glow in you as a wave of thanksgiving. And as I say this little prayer, expand yourself and just imagine that you're sharing that with the entire universe, with the entire world. Pachamama. Naiki kuyaiki Pachamama. Pachamamita. Puna naiki kuyaiki. Mama Aipa naiki kuyaiki. Itu apukuna naiki kuyaiki. Pakarina kuna naiki kuyaiki. Machakwaipa. Amarua naiki kuyaiki. Mama Uno, Mama Kocha, Mama Kia, Anaiki. Hatin Chaiwa, Hatin Chokan Chinchai. Hatanantorongo, Anaiki, Anaiki, Anaiki. Anaiki, 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 Wilkawaira, Anaiki, Anaiki, Siwarakinte, Anaiki, Anaiki, Inti Taita, Wilkaninda, Anaiki, Anaiki, Hatunkunda, Hatanankas, Anaiki, Anaiki, Quichi, Anaiki, Anaiki, Apokuna, Anaiki, Nustakuna, Anaiki, Aponustakuna, Anaiki, Pachamama Nustakuna, Anaiki, Anaiki, Texe Muhu Amaru, Anaiki, 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 Verokocha. Everyone taking a deep breath and holding your breath and just imagining the sacredness of whatever you experience during this hour, just bubbling in your aura, bubbling in your energy field. And on the count of 3, blowing out a sacred breath, sharing our nectar, our thanks, and our love with the entire universe. 1, 2, 3. Hey, oh.
Ukataya, Utushipikiata, Upatanya Sutuatiata, Ukatiama, Ushukuti, Usupatianata, Ukutaya, Ikipiatata, Ushukuta, Iminatakoaya, Shinikiata, Utiana, Ikudurashikatia, Uriakiatia Tua, Ikitoto, Ishiminakura, Uriashikiana, Ukatayata, Sikikuota, Ipikata, Shikata, Tuatapaya. Ikitiatara, Urukariataya. I felt the awakening of needing to share a little light language as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for this space and all the work you do out there, brother. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. And it's exact reflection to you as well.
Thank you.
Well, this does it for this podcast episode of Sacred Light Conversations. I'm your host again, Marcus Christolight of Sacred Light Healing and Wellness. And this was our beautiful guest, Don Zane Curfman, carrier of many medicines of the traditions of the world, including Peruvian as well as Afro traditions. Thank you again, brother, and I look forward to our journey together.
Absolutely. I do too. Much love to everyone.
Wholeness and balanced love to everybody. Have a blessed and beautiful day or night wherever you are. And thank you all for tapping in, being your beautiful selves, and being vessels for the higher self here on this earth. Love you all.